second episode of the Amityville horror retrospective. I don't know what happened there. Episode 22 of Exorcast,
yes.
but we're going.
In the immortal words of Taylor Swift. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling 22, right?
Okay.
We are totally keeping that in. Anyway.
I mean, I don't mind Taylor Swift. I'm not a...
I don't either, but I don't know how I feel about Chuck quoting Taylor
local
Swift.
Girl, Tennessee, home state, hoorah, or whatever, you know.
Okay.
But part 2.
Amityville 2 with the longest quote ever.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead, please. Why don't you read off the tagline there, Chuck?
The night of February the 5th, 1976, George and Kathleen Lutz and their 3 children fled their home in Amityville, New York. Space. They got out alive. Space. Their living nightmare shocked audiences around the world in Amityville horror. Space. But before them, another family lived in the house and were caught by the original evil. Space. They weren't so lucky. This is their story. Space. Amityville 2, The Possession.
And yes, if Chuck, hold it up real quick. Hold up the cover so I can... Yeah. Okay. The font is that small above that. That's how they fit all that in above the title.
Yep, so it is a prequel.
Yes, it is.
Prequel.
It's supposed to be the family before the first movie, except they changed the name from DeFeo to Montelli.
They should have said that at the beginning of the movie. They should have been like, names have been changed to protect those. Blah, blah, blah. But it's got Polly.
Protect them from what? They're dead.
Yeah, the other family. This has got Polly from Rocky in it, okay?
It does have Polly from Rocky in it.
Supposedly, George Lutz, actual George Lutz, wanted... This is, again, I'm going to be pulling from Wikipedia because the Wikipedia is surprisingly actually deep on this. George Lutz wanted them to make this on the book, based on the book Amityville Horror Part 2. And they basically said, fuck that. And they made it off of a book called Murder in Amityville, which is by the exact same parapsychologist you mentioned in the last episode, is on the commentary for the first movie.
I read George Lutz was into the occult.
Yeah, which we'll get to that, because that's also part of what we'll talk about my Amityville horror.
I heard his mama was a hoe.
We'll get into that.
We'll
get into that a little bit, because there's...
I heard his mama was a hoe. I don't know.
His mama was a hoe?
Y'all just... Yeah, you just throwing stuff out there. I heard this. I was like, well, I heard his mama was a hoe.
That wasn't in the article I read.
Yeah, no.
Allegedly. So I don't.
Allegedly.
But now, what did the book have in it? Where's the book? What was the plot of the book? Do we know?
I can tell you. For the record, this was 1982. By the way, we haven't talked about this. Plot tries to explain why Ronald DeFeo Jr. killed his family at 112 Ocean Avenue. It revolves around Ronald Jr. as he experiences strange events in the house up until he kills his entire family on November 13th, 1974. It goes on to explain that he was possessed and that he did not want to kill his family. It introduces controversial events and is also based on DeFeo's explanation of why he says he killed his family.
Well, there we go.
Supposedly also the remake, according to this, is also using the same theory.
Huh.
Yeah.
But we didn't use that for part 2. Instead, we just have a group of people move into a house, and almost immediately things go south.
Yeah.
So
big difference.
Wait, here, look, 2 things. One,
yes.
Tommy Lee Wallace did the screenplay for this.
Yes, screenplay. Yep.
Second,
Tommy Lee Wallace of Halloween 3 frame. Yep.
This is a prequel. Okay? Established prequel. This is the first family. They move in. All the windows are already fucking nailed shut.
Yep.
Why?
Who's got time for such issues, you know?
It's a thing, yeah.
Studio's like, nobody's going to know that.
We've passed.
Not to mention, as it gets explained earlier or later on in the movie in a random sequence, there is a lot of stuff at that house. You know, that whole scene where she that thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So 40 years ago, they was like, you know what, we better change this because 40 years from now, some dudes are going to do a podcast. They're going to bring up the fact that the windows are already...
Look, there's enough crazy, weird things in this movie that us nitpicking the nailed windows is not going to break this movie apart.
Oh.
Incidentally, I'm surprised you only mentioned that, because since you're the spaghetti western guy, This was also directed by Damiano Damiani, who W would know best from Bullet for the General.
Oh, no shit.
Yes. I looked that up earlier because I was like, he's Italian. He must have done something. Oh, shit. Okay.
There's some certain Italian flavoring in this movie.
Yes. According to Rue Morgue's 200 alternative horror films, it's good and it's giallo-y.
I don't know if I say that.
I highly doubt that. Some of the camera work maybe, but the movie, fuck that. But yeah, they listed in their list. I won't deny it's definitely underrated, but yeah, it's definitely got very. It's much more Italian, shall we say, in terms of a adjective than the first one is.
Well, as I said right before we started this, at least things happen in this movie.
The first
Albeit they're not all good things.
I literally paused it 10 minutes in because I was just like, how far am I into this? Because just of the amount of shit that's already happened within the first 10 minutes.
It just looks wild.
They just walk in and bam.
The first brush with the paranormal happens in one of the first scenes of the movie.
Yep.
While they're moving in to the house.
Yep.
And one of the most awkward scenes happens while they're moving into the house between the older brother and the sister.
To be fair, I don't know if that's the most awkward. Well, I agree.
One
Yeah,
of.
One of. Yes.
I mean, most non-possession scenes.
Yes. We'll get to that.
Fucking weird, man.
Very weird. Like I said, we'll get to that because we should talk about the whole plot first, basically.
Well, I think at this point everyone knows it, but yes, this family, they buy the house of their dreams. Chuck is gone.
Bye, Chuck.
Bye, Chuck.
The house.
Anyway, so they buy the house of their dreams, and they are. What's going on here? What are you doing, Chuck?
He's muted. I think.
He's muted, and he's. I don't fucking know. Fuck him.
Onward.
Okay. So, they buy the house of their dreams. Dad is kind of an asshole, like right from the very beginning, because the son is like 30 seconds late.
And is played by the dad, that is. Burt Young.
Burt Young is the dad, yeah.
Rocky, yeah. The dad's... So that's one thing I was going to say is, Chuck mentioned on his Australian set that it comes with Amityville Horror. Amityville Horror was IFC did a documentary where they had Daniel go and do interviews about the haunting and what he thinks happened. They had him interview a psychologist. They had him, talk with the Warrens. They had talked to Lorraine Warren for reasons and explore her basement, which, ooh. But there is one thing in the movie that I found interesting after the fact, having seen this, because I haven't watched the movie, but I read that this was in it. He goes out of his way very much to talk about just how much of an abusive asshole his father was. That's something they definitely got right in this one that they didn't get in the other one.
It's true.
I mean, I was just like, holy crap. I mean, welcome back, Chuck.
I had a conference I had to attend to real quick.
Ah, sure.
Yeah, so I had it on mute. Like, I intentionally had the things off to not interfere with what was going on.
So just to recap, we pointed out that Burt Young is in it, and that in Amityville Horror, Danny DeFeo says that his father was an abusive asshole, and Amityville 2 definitely nails that part.
Yep. Yes, it does. Now, are we supposed to believe that he was a jerk because of the house, or are we supposed to believe he was just jerk in default because
he was just a jerk?
This box,
he's a jerk in default.
He tries to say, they're not exactly the perfect family, which I guess that might be.
He's a jerk in default. Yep.
Yeah. He always played a good jerk, but he played a lovable one in Rocky.
Not in this one. But anyway.
Yeah, not in this one.
They move in. He's being abusive and arrogant and a dick because the son's like 30 seconds late and fell behind the mom.
Mm-hmm.
And they get ready and they start moving in. And there's a really, really frigging awkward scene where if I'm interpreting the family correctly, that's stepbrother and stepsister?
No, I thought that was full-fledged brother and sister. I
couldn't tell because the implication is like the daughter comes up, like not the daughter, but the younger daughter tells the mom that the dad's that he's being a creep. And I'm like, that seems like something where you would expect him, because they seemed like they were saying that as if they didn't know him that long, and like he was, not their usual dad kind of thing.
I think on Wikipedia though it lists everybody with the same last name.
They do. I mean, I'm saying they might have gotten married, and
he might have adopted all the kids.
Yeah, adopted all the kids, remarried, kind of thing.
That's pretty deep.
But and that would explain possibly why he's so abusive to the son, is because maybe that actually is his son, whereas, the other children are all hers. That's why she's kind of protective of them.
I'm just calling full-fledged incest. What I'm calling.
It's possible. Yeah, there's a scene that begins to like.
We got to get to it first, Chuck.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, there's a scene that hints and dabbles in the idea that there's kind of a vague passing incestuous thing, which
so fucking awkward.
Fucking why, and also awkward as shit. The dad's proven to be abusive on numerous occasions. They have their first meal after hanging up a mirror. The mirror falls, and the dad just wants to beat the shit out of everybody in the family out of nowhere.
But who could?
He like start choking the son.
Yeah, something like that.
Because he hung it up.
Yeah, and all of this is happening, and then they go to church, the mom and the children, but the dad doesn't go because he's not religious. Because again, much like in the first movie, big time religion. And so she asks him to come bless the house, just like in the first movie. And this time it's not so much that the house kicks him out, the dad kicks him out because the dad's an asshole. I mean, but while they're moving in, some weird, strange, creepy, I'll put it the way the guy does, shit-filled hole under the house is discovered. And, blood pours out of the faucets and stuff. Shit happens fast.
She seems to take that first blood out the faucet quite well.
Well, it went away quickly. Haven't you ever had rust come out of a faucet?
Right.
Look at that crimson, but I mean.
I know, right? Yeah, exactly. But yeah, basically, the movie ends up devolving into this idea where they all go apologize. They, as in the family and the dad, like the smaller kids, the dad and the mom, go to apologize to the priest because the father was an asshole. And the son, who's been sick the whole time, stays home and gets possessed.
Yeah. So we're going full on exorcism now.
With great effects. This movie has great practical effects. Such good.
It does.
And then from that point on, it's basically both the son fighting the possession and not fighting the possession, which we'll get into things about that in a minute. The dad showing up every so often and being an abusive prick. And eventually, much like in the first movie, the priest having a giant crisis of faith and feeling like he has to do something to fix the problem and save the family as best he can. Is that good enough?
That's pretty much it.
And then it becomes a whole other thing by the end, though. I don't know. We ain't gonna spoil anything.
I wasn't gonna go that far, Chuck, but okay.
It is like two movies in one.
It is, yeah. You cut it, and legitimately, you can probably cut the movie about in half, roughly about in half between the two parts.
Yeah.
But yeah, So I was mentioning before, and you said it yourself yesterday, and I think it was group chat. This movie's weird. This movie's really fucking weird.
Well, at least I wasn't aware of the Italian influence at the time. That makes sense now. Perfect.
So, among other things, the hints and fingerprints of incest, they ain't hints and fingerprints for long, shall we say.
It's there.
And the abuse, on a level, he was abusive to begin with, but the house ain't helping, and the son ain't helping.
She just kind of goes along with it.
Yeah, and the practical effects, like I said, are fantastic in this movie.
Yeah.
But I will say, I said I was going to mention this. According to Wikipedia, I haven't watched it. That's the one good thing. One thing I will say about you guys, Shout Factory sets, is you guys actually have features on your Amityville 2 set.
Oh, yeah, we got a lot.
I have a trailer.
We've got an interview with the director, interviews with actors, audio commentary with Alexandra Holzer, growing up a haunted, ghostly memoir, and the trailer.
Which, I have the trailer. But the thing is, I feel like because they interview him, probably this is true. Which is, we were talking last week about Candyman's test screenings and how test screenings tend to be kind of bullshitty. Not on this one, I don't think. Basically, they showed his original cut and they had to cut it down. And I'm going to quote from Wikipedia here. Several scenes had to be cut out for various reasons. One of them being the negative reaction of the audience to a scene in which Anthony anally rapes Dolores, and another scene in which incestuous sex is actually shown instead of the he was, according to the way Wikipedia puts it, he was trying to it says here there's some other stuff like someone cleaning a gun, someone pushing someone's head underwater in a bathtub, but apparently basically like he put it in because he just wanted to screw with people. And
no, it's like a modern day indie director, right?
And I'm just like, what the fuck did you think was gonna happen?
Well, we kind of get some of those, like the dad raping the mother, because
they imply
it because there's the argument, oh, so you don't want to do it at all anymore, blah blah blah, and then what's the oldest daughter, Patricia, right?
Yeah.
She tells Sonny, she's like, I don't think mommy wants to make love to daddy anymore. Like, who fucking says that?
Like I said, this stuff. Yeah, it lends credence to this article that, that probably was legitimately in there because they reference the shit out of both things. I mean, especially with the way, not that I'm saying, okay, let me be very careful how I put this. The way she reacts, regardless of what happens in the movie, to that scene is logical and normal. If the movie actually had it in it, it'd be even more logical and normal. You know, I mean, for the record, when Lutz wanted the movie to be based on the other book, he actually sued them because they didn't. He lost, but you will notice that there were I don't know if it's on your Blu-rays or anything. There was apparently something put on the posters or near theaters that said that it had no affiliation at all with George or Kathy Lutz.
Yeah. He just wanted some money.
I think an issue with this movie is you don't really have any particular character to root behind and latch onto.
I'd say the daughter, except.
Well, if it is, you know how.
We almost get like a little bit of Stockholm syndrome out of her later on in the movie.
That's the thing. I'd say there's a little bit of that, and also there is a piece of it where you go, how much of her initial reaction to this particular scene is her, and how much of it is the house?
Yeah.
And that question also, I won't deny, you're right. It's hard to find someone you really like, even the priest. You don't really like the priest because he's all, fuck it, I'm gonna go camping.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, he was forced to go camping, wasn't he?
In a way, but I mean,
like he wanted to answer the phone.
Yeah,
and
but
he wasn't
also
able
just stood there. That's what I'm saying. Like the guy picked it up and put it off the hook. He could have gone and done it, but the guy wasn't holding his arm. You know.
Yeah, and then of course, then in the second half of the film, you're just kind of left with what you're left with, and it's kind of like, well, do we want to cheer for the guy like you're mentioning, or what do you want to do?
Let's cheer for Sonny. No, that makes sense.
So, the chancellor in this, in the church, did anyone else notice that he was a scary German guy from Monster Squad?
Didn't realize it.
I did not, but I wouldn't surprise me.
I was looking at him. Morgan and I were sitting there watching it. And I was like, "That's scary German guy." And she's like, "What?
Yeah, the German guy.
Who?" I was like, "Scary German guy from Monster Squad." And she's like, "You always do this. You never know who you're talking about." I was like, I got online. I'm like, "Yeah, scary German guy." Yeah. So I'm very bad about, "Hey, that's so and so from this," and she's like, "No, it's not.
That guy."
And then I got to make a big deal about it when it's right, because it's really, I'm really right.
The positive thing that I would say about this movie is, at least, unlike the first one, it's not boring.
No,
it's not boring at all.
It's also, okay, I will say one thing I will say about this movie is it's 15 minutes shorter. I did not feel like it was 15 minutes shorter. Did it feel long to anybody?
It felt long.
I was
yes.
Because there's so much. Because part of that's probably because of like what happens in the house and then what happens after the house. I think it makes it feel like it's a lot longer than it is.
There's also a piece like where nothing happens between the two too.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have the stuff, you have the other stuff, and then there's a part where it's like quieter, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, and you've got those quieter moments where it's almost like the dad is trying to make up for the stupid shit that he's done, like grilling burgers for the kids at the party. She physically forces him to go to the church and apologize to the priest. And then, Patricia's like, oh, yes, and then Daddy took us out for steak dinners, and we had a great time. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So there's like the little bits and pieces where you think, like, okay, he's trying. He's trying to be a better person. And then that same night's when they have the argument because she won't bang him. So.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, the movie is better than the first one, but like, first of all, we said it last episode, this movie very much, particularly in its second half, is an Exorcist ripoff.
Oh, for sure.
Absolutely.
Was I the only person that got hints of like Exorcist 3 out of this?
Oh God, yes.
And you know what?
Is it even out yet?
No.
I thought it was.
This predates it by 8 years.
Wait, okay, so the movie, yes, was the book out.
Who can say?
Hang on, I'll look it up.
Was there a third Exorcist book?
Exorcist 3 was based on a book.
It'll be a case of saying, you know what, they ripped us off.
It's based on Blatty's novel. Yeah. Okay. So this movie was 1982. The literal year after this movie came out, William Peter Blatty wrote an Exorcist novel called Legion, and that's what Exorcist 3 is based on.
So this predates that book.
So maybe William Peter Blatty got his ideas from Amityville 2 Possession.
Back in the old days, before internet, you could just rip off everybody.
Yeah, a lot easier then, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I was getting like some not like
definitely
like, bits and pieces that last third of the film, but I had two things to say and I forget what the other one is now. Then we started talking about Legion.
You were thinking we were talking about Exorcist ripoffs. We were talking about Exorcist 3. Anything?
It'll come back to me.
Yeah. Lost in time.
So we know. So this is a prequel. We know what the son did in the story. We know what happened.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Doesn't make it any easier to watch him with the gun going after the children.
Yeah,
I say this is one of the rare horror movies that breaks that rule. That's supposed to be the sacrosanct rule. Yeah, this breaks that rule. I will point out, it breaks that rule not explicitly, but it's abundantly clear what happens, basically.
Yeah, I mean, but you don't. It's most of it's off screen, but it still doesn't make it enjoyable. It doesn't make it easy to watch by any means.
You know what happened. And the movie, I'll be honest, the movie's kind of a dick in a way, because what I mean is, when that happens, the movie then intentionally sets you up to think that it didn't happen for like maybe 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And then, oh shit.
Fuck. Because really, I'm like, wait a minute. Okay. Cool. Oh, no. Damn.
Yeah. But yeah, it's not this isn't a spoiler, by the way, but just to point out as a fun little weird thing about this movie, according to Wikipedia, also the ending. I'm not going to get into it. There's an explosion in the ending. You know that, right? Yeah, the ending has that big explosion around the house and stuff.
Yeah.
That was an accident.
Really?
Yeah. Apparently, according to them, it says the explosion. This is again Wikipedia. The explosion scene at the end of the film was real during filming. A highly explosive chemical which produces flames that burn out instantly was used. During filming of the explosion scene at the end of the movie, the effect reportedly backfired and burned the side of the house.
Watch out for that.
Looked great though. Looked fantastic.
So it's more enjoyable than the first.
Very much so.
It's got a lot going on.
It's more
And
enjoyable, but would you say it's harder to watch or no? Based off of, and what I'm asking on that regard is about the harder elements.
well, I mean, I've seen stuff. I've watched all kinds of. You know about like the kid murders? Is that what you're talking about?
I'm not the kid murders, the implications of the abuse, the incest.
I've watched some of the most extreme things out there, so this wasn't that bad to me. It was kind of tame compared to those in some regard, but I don't know, like it added a creepy element to it. I think this is definitely better than the first one for just the entertainment value, and people actually die, which is good for a movie, because it's a horror movie, you know.
Well,
So
to elaborate on the like the kids and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
When I first watched this movie, nothing. But of course, it's been hell of a long time. I've got kids now, so it's a whole nother ballgame watching it.
And I'm not going to go too deeply into detail and stuff. I had never watched this movie. I can guarantee you probably that if I'd watched it when I originally watched Amityville Horror years ago, it probably wouldn't have affected me the way it does now. Not for anything involving me, but just for other stuff I know, and stuff I'm privy to, and that made it like I can still tell, like it makes lists like this all the time now. It's people talk about it a lot. It's weird. It's like on Rotten Tomatoes, it's like 11% right now. But and I will be honest, according to Letterboxd, since I think Chuck mentioned that last week or week before, I actually joined up since then just to mark what I've watched and liked. This is actually lower rated than the original Amityville Horror on Letterboxd. It's a 2.9 versus a 3. But I wish. But what I'm saying though is like it's a better movie.
Yeah.
But it's got some stuff, man. It's like it's in a lot of ways. You mentioned you'd go back for the dog. This would be like if the dog didn't make it in the first movie.
Yeah.
I mean, like in that kind of concept, like, and it affects it. I'm not saying it's hard to watch. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying it's like Sallow, or Philosophy of a Knife, or Serbian Film.
I'll never know. I may never get to see Philosophy of a Knife. I've been trying to see that.
Hey, Chuck, there's one on Amazon for $175.
Is it yours?
Nope. Mine's set for 200.
Oh, 200. Well, the new
any day you want it, just let me know.
Yeah, okay.
But it's. I'm not saying it's like that. I'm just saying it's the question of is something being boring harder to watch, or is something being uncomfortable harder to watch?
I'd rather watch something uncomfortable than something boring.
I kind of agree, honestly. I was just curious your thoughts.
At least it keeps you alive when you watch something uncomfortable, right?
Yeah.
Boring, you're just sitting there just trying not to go to sleep.
Boring, you start playing on your phone.
Yep.
Yes. Uncomfortable is you're a little bit, I don't know, but we're here. So we're going to see where it goes.
Then you're forced to start playing on your phone.
Yeah. Like, I watched this thing, like I said, about 7 years ago, and I forgot all about the, I remembered the incest part when I seen the chick. I was like, oh, okay, I remember where this is going. But the kids, I forgot about the kids.
It's... And I'll be honest, I was most, like, okay, the incest surprised me, obviously. I was really surprised by how quick and how hard they go at that abuse angle. Like, it's literally like the minute he shows up. And I was just like, wow.
And it doesn't get physical then, but it's verbal and it's mental.
Yeah,
and then
the next,
and then boom,
every time
the dinner scene, it gets physical, and then it gets like, more. So
if you take nothing else away from this film, up in the first 20-30 minutes of this movie, they want you to know the dad's an asshole.
Oh yeah, well, the dad's an asshole. There's shit under the house, and there's a weird incestuous relationship between the kids. That's what they want you to know within the first 10 to 20 minutes of the movie.
And then the other kids, they're all okay. It feels like the little kids are just here for the sole purpose.
That's true. That is true as well. Yeah. That is very weird. I didn't
to
get
beaten
that,
and killed.
Yeah, it's a weird movie.
It's a mean
Have
movie.
you watched the interview with the director? Either of you? I'm legit. Like, I was looking on YouTube earlier because I was curious. I forget what I was specifically looking for. But I did see that Scream Factory's put up a bunch of the interviews on YouTube from the Amityville 2 set. So, I don't think they've done the one with the director, but I think some of the actor ones are on there.
If
But
I think about it when I'm posting this, I'll put links. I'll try to look for those and put links in here.
yeah, there's a few I can send you. I can send you some stuff later. But yeah, it's good. It's definitely a better movie than the first one. It's also definitely not something that everyone's going to be able to sit through just because of everything it does. I mean, it's kind of literally like one of those kind of things where they throw literally everything at the wall that they have and try to make it stick. Because like you mentioned, it's weird, and it's weird even in the sense that like I think I've talked about this before with other movies with my wife, where it's like we'll watch the original of something like in theaters, and then the sequel will come out, and we're like, that was basically literally just them going, okay, we blew up one building in this movie, now let's blow up three. And with this one, it's kind of like they're like, okay, in the first movie we had a whole bunch of flies, and we turned the cross upside down. So in this one, let's have a sheet cover the cross with being pulled across the room with no one pulling it, and then let's have this mirror fall, and then let's have the entire kitchen just get destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
More extreme, more.
It's never enough.
Dishonor thy father.
Yeah, dishonor thy father. The paintbrushes, yeah.
Yep, and then all of a sudden the kids get blamed for the wall painting there. It said pig.
Again, that's half the thing that makes the abuse so annoying, and also in a way, sadly, so fucking realistic, is the fact that he's not realistic. Really? You think your kid's gonna do all that shit? I mean,
how
well,
fast you think?
Yeah, and they're like they couldn't. The mom's like they can't draw that, and then at the same time, the kids don't do it's. This is like Beyond the Door, where all this crazy shit happens, and the kids see it all, and they don't do anything. They don't say anything about it. The kids are like the brushes.
Nobody
but they literally watched it.
They're at least a little less blasé than the kids in Beyond the Door.
Yeah.
But I mean, they're not drinking tomato soup out of a can here, but
true.
With straw.
So was I the only person that noticed since we're going from this one and then jumping back to the Amityville Horror, but the crawl space in this, it's wood wall, opens up, and it empties out into the little, shit pile of flies.
Yep.
And in the Amityville Horror, it's completely stoned up with like very nice stonework.
Yep. Yeah. I think the implication probably is like to make it sellable. Maybe they just went patch, spackle. I don't know.
That'd be more than patch, spackle, though.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. Like, that'd be the only thing that makes any sense.
Rather than cleaning out the shit.
Yeah. Besides, there wasn't exactly a red light in there this time. Which I will point out, we didn't mention this in the last episode, and that's on me. The effects in this one are great. Some of the effects in the other one, they do not hold up in the first movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
But this one is better than that.
And
you know what it is?
Better than that, I'm giving it a 3.
I want to give it a 3.5, but I'm giving it a 3.
I kind of am exactly the same boat. I was very close to giving it a 3.5.
We're gonna pull back a little bit.
I can't. Yeah, I'm pulling back because there's a lot of movies coming, and I don't want to box myself in and give it a 3.5 and not be able to give something else 3.5. But also, for as many things as it does right, it is still too long. It's way too long, and it is impressively weird. Like, impressively.
There's not too many movies like this.
Yeah, this is. I'll be honest. You'd think it'd be more well known because of just how weird it is.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing. You still don't hear a lot of people be like, "Damn it, you know what? I want to watch Amityville 2." Like, it's like we talked about Beyond the Door 2 in Shock and how like no one talks about it in a completely different way with the kind of movies people like and the things that gain cult followings. You would think people would talk about Amityville 2 more, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And up until today, I never realized that this was just called Amityville 2. Like, The Possession.
Yeah.
But I, legitimately in my head, I was like, oh, The Amityville Horror 2.
Yeah.
The Possession.
Yeah, in fact, this is the thing, I guess, that you would say that starts the trend. Because from this point on, there is no movie in the franchise that is called The Amityville Horror anything except for the remake. Everything else from here on in is either Amityville something, like Amityville : something, or Amityville space something, or the Amityville somethings. It's never the Amityville Horror 2. It's just that's kind of what you're saying last episode. You said how to get so popular. They had a place. They had a place. They had a house. They had a murder. You know, they had a true event that at the time in the 70s everybody knew about. Mm-hmm. And so if you want to add legitimacy to your movie, slap the word Amityville on it, and you've instantly got a movie that's about haunting, possession, in some way, shape, or form, whatever you happen to do with it. Even if, for example, you're doing, I don't know, Amityville Prison. That's a movie that exists.
Amityville Clown House.
Amityville Clown House, exactly.
Now, there's a movie was a remake of this whole movie under a different name, right?
So, yeah, I'm not 100. This is one of those things I'm not sure of that's on the Wikipedia page. It claims that Amityville 2: The Possession was remade in 2018 as the movie The Amityville Murders. I don't know if they legitimately remade this movie or if they were remaking the book that this was made on.
So I'm on IMDb right now for The Amityville Murders, and they use the name DeFeo.
Probably because by this point there was no one to sue him over it.
But Burt Young is in this. Is in the 2018.
Really?
Yeah. Different character, obviously.
Oh, sure, but hang on a minute.
Isn't that interesting?
It is.
I don't think I've seen this. When did this movie come out?
2018. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, hang on a minute. I recognize that poster. I think. Hang on a minute. Oh wow, him. Sorry, I saw the director's name. Hang on a second. I've been checking this as we've been going to see, just in curiosity. I'm pretty sure a lot of the Amityvilles got pulled from Tubi recently because Shout Factory's getting ready to do their 30 Days of Horror on their channel. Amityville. Let's see.
One of your favorite people is in this movie, James.
Unless you're gonna. There's a lot of possibilities with that one, you know.
Stephen Barton.
Okay. Well, that certainly tells me a lot about the quality. Yeah, I was gonna say. Well, also, here's the thing: the director, for the record, is Daniel Farrens.
Yes.
Daniel Farrens was the director of, among other things, Crystal Lake Memories: The Complete History of Friday the 13th, and Never Sleep Again: The Elm Street Legacy.
Mm-hmm. He was a writer on Nightmare 4, or not Nightmare 4, Halloween 4.
He was a writer on. I've got Halloween 6.
Is it 6?
Wait, no, wait, no, wait, no.
I have to go look.
I think you're right. Yeah, Halloween 4. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
No, 6. 6. Yeah.
4,
the Paul Rudd one. Yeah, the Paul Rudd one. Yeah, it's 6.
Yeah,
I thought so. Yeah, it's 6.
Curse of Michael Myers.
So yeah, there's your connection. But yeah, it was 2018. It's got. He also wrote it as well. He didn't just direct this when he wrote it. But in terms of the cast, I mean, Burt Young's in it. I don't know what pool that is, but yeah.
I feel like I've seen it at like a video store or something. I just never bought it or never checked it out.
Oh wow, he's playing the extremely important role of Thug.
But the dad is played by Paul Ben Victor, who's in a ton of fucking mafia movies.
The son is played by somebody who's done a lot of indie stuff. He was also apparently in Transformers.
He's in Lords of Dogtown.
Mm-hmm. He was in Elephant. That was a weird movie.
I guess it was.
It was a weird movie. Didn't that movie come out like right after Columbine?
Yeah, that was the thing about it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Which I'll be honest. Okay, 2 things in that regard. Then, okay, and I know, I can say it already. I can say we're not going to do this movie, but we probably will still do the Amityville Murders at some point because, of course, we will. But what I will say about that is then, when they're saying they remade Amityville 2, that's where I was getting to where I'm like, okay, how much did you remake Amityville 2? Like, How deep down this road are you going with how weird this movie is?
I bet they go
Right.
all in. Bet they go all in. We may never know until we find a copy of it.
We'll get it. We'll get it done.
It's got a 4.7 out of 10, by the way, on IMDb, compared to Amityville 2 itself, which has a 5.5.
Oh. So it's probably like a good solid 2 out of 5, probably.
Let's see.
We'll
So
see.
at least IMDb mentions the incest for Amityville 2. There is not a mention of that here, at least not directly. There's. I always love reading the frightening and intense scenes part.
Yeah.
The frightening and intense scenes part is great. It says severe based on 7 user votes and says, and I'm quoting, some of the scene is very dark. It contains very mature thematic elements of all the killing, all the family matters, all the hates, and everything else.
Look here. I've seen this now. It's been established that this is an incest movie. There's incest in it. So now remaking it without the incest would be like making a Freddy, remake without the child murder, right?
It gets to the core question. Like I said, are they remaking the movie or are they readapting the book?
Yeah,
because if they're readapting the book and the book didn't have it in that, and he just threw it in because reasons, then there'd be no reason for it to be in there.
Extreme.
Yeah, especially not nowadays.
No.
Shockingly good. One of the better ones. I almost fell asleep. Looked better in the previews. Slow moving. Full of historical inaccuracies.
Oh, who in the world's going to sit there and fact check this movie while you watch it?
Actually, this is
Internet trolls?
I think this is my favorite, my review of where I always bring up what I think is a really hilariously weird review of the week. This is a good one. This is for the Amityville murders, for the record. Slow moving, full of little historical inaccuracies, and lacked authenticity. Acting was meh. Watching the mother try to smoke/not smoke that cigarette in the kitchen was painful. Modern doorknobs, electrical outlets, and LED candles. I would think that if you were planning to make a retelling of something historic, you'd make sure that every effort to ensure authenticity in your sets. Isn't this kind of research what interns are for?
Is it what interns are for?
I look forward to watching it.
I mean...
These are the top results.
Oh.
Yes,
scared me half to death.
Yes, Alexa. Should I actually... I'm not going to do it to you.
I have no... See, look at this. Phone randomly went off. Every time we do one of these movies, something strange happens. You had to fight spiders, and my phone trying to give me questions I didn't answer. Or didn't answer.
Is that Alexa or Siri?
That's whatever Google has.
Oh, that's just Google.
It's just Google. It's just that old basic Google.
Mm-hmm.
Basic bitch.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's
Amityville
I did have one other thing to point out. I don't have video of it because no one put it up on YouTube, and it's hard as shit to find this shit anyway. Yeah. I found it all when I was doing a research to just write like a kind of a Requiem article a few years after it had gone away back in the day. Monsters HD. When they would air movies, they'd usually have a little bit of time extra at the end.
Mm-hmm.
So they would basically do in that ads, and the ads would either be, I think it was because either Lionsgate or Anchor Bay I think it was Lionsgate, was a part owner. They would air trailers for Lionsgate's newest movies or newer movies during the commercial breaks. But they would also do these really awesome ones where they would show the Monsters HD logo, and then they'd have a clip from a movie, like playing from a certain point. I'm trying to remember one besides the one I'm about to say. I think there was one for Terminator where they played a scene from Terminator, and they'll play the scene, and then suddenly it'll cut to black, and it'll say, see the good parts. And then instead of like the idea being they're not going to show you, they immediately cut back and show you what was the next thing, like right after what they would have cut from. So there was no actual gap. It's just the next horrible thing. And then it would say coming soon or starting on whatever date. Not horrible, but like, interesting. Good thing. Terminator, whatever. They actually had one for Amityville 2: The Possession. And it was showing stuff from the ending, basically. Where it was like, see the good parts, and it's like the head thing and stuff at the ending. Yeah. I don't know if it's on my tape I have downstairs of Monsters HD footage, but it was, that's how I first heard about it. I think every so often would turn on Monsters HD before something else was coming on, and that's how I know at some point I saw the ending of Amityville 2 because it was on before something else. But yeah.
Well, showed the ending. Of all the things to show, they showed the ending.
Well, I mean, they just pick whatever they wanted to pick. Like, I think once they did one with scanners, I think once, so they showed the head explosion.
Of course.
You know, it depended on the movie, basically. But, you know, they would show, there was, I think, one that had Godzilla. Or no, there was one with Omen 3. That one was a weird one, where it had the dog scene where they, like, attack and stuff. Yeah, just random shit, but I wanted to bring that up because, at the very least, they didn't forget about it.
That's
you know, they were advertising it as a big deal that they had it coming in and stuff.
Everyone else just forgot about Monsters HD, though.
Well, that's only because the only people who had it were Dish Network and Optimum/Cablevision. So.
Correct. I had Dish Network.
Well, then why didn't you have it? I'm just kidding. It's your fault, Chuck. No.
It is your fault, Chuck.
Is that my fault?
It's your fault it died. No. But anyway.
We just went through 2 episodes without the hashtag.
Well, that's because we decided we wanted to hear his story of his wrestling story last time and not actually want him to shut up from it.
Yeah, it was actually an interesting story, right?
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
The hashtag is reserved for when we don't want to hear it.
Oh, so we want to talk about some action figures I got coming tomorrow?
Shut up, Chuck.
There you go.
I don't think we're allowed to talk about his action figures.
You don't have to cut this. You don't have to cut this because I'm not giving details.
Don't?
But I got UFC figures coming tomorrow.
Oh.
Not quite as good as anything else, but it's a start. It's a start.
Well, I mean, you can always stare at the pictures that Dance Commander sent out.
Yeah, where'd he get those at?
He ordered them?
He ordered
them, yeah.
Well, he works for where he works, so he's got plenty of funds to buy such things.
I thought for a second that you were going to say that he has some secret connection within where he works.
Maybe he does. Maybe he does.
No.
He may know more. I mean, the man knows when stuff's heading towards this planet. And sometimes you don't tell nobody.
All right, well. Next week, we'll be talking about Amityville 3D.
Oh, dear
Jesus. Does anybody here actually have a 3D Blu-ray player and a 3D TV?
I do not.
Yes and no.
Yes and no.
I don't have a 3D TV, but I've got a 3D player.
I have a 3D player. I'm going to be honest.
A 3D 4K player.
I am not going to do this because I don't have the Blu-ray. If I actually had the 3D Blu-ray, I could actually watch it in 3D. But only because PlayStation VR functions as a 3D thing. And I actually have that from the GameStop days. But I don't have that. I just have the DVD. So sorry, we will not be talking next week about how good the 3D actually is on the Blu-ray.
There won't be no third dimension for me.
But we will be talking about Amityville 3D.
If I remember correctly, it looks pretty crappy as it is.
I've heard, yeah.
I think this is like the worst looking Blu-ray of the bunch.
I've heard it doesn't look
That's going to be hard to believe.
Just wait.
We didn't talk about that. What are your thoughts on the quality of the Blu-ray? For 2?
For 2, it looked good. It looked fun.
It looked okay. It could look better.
It looked, honestly, it looks from like, we're just reading the special features, it looked like the one they put the most effort into.
Yeah, well.
They did all their special features for it. There's nothing on 3.
Somebody shouts like, "This is the one."
That's, I guarantee you that's why they made the box set.
Somebody just wanted part 2.
Somebody wanted to put a Blu-ray of part 2 out, and MGM was like, why don't you take all of them? We're not doing shit with them.
That's why this is indications almost to me right here. With
that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
they thought about a collector's edition. Yeah, they were going to think about a collector's edition. Someone's like, well, no, you got to take the rest. And they're like, okay, well, are we going to take 4 through 8? And they're like, well, no, hold on now.
We don't own those.
Yeah. Don't get crazy then.
But yeah, so we'll be talking about Amityville 3D in 2D next week then.
Screen Factory should do. Well, they've already did the house box. That's the only reason I have this Amityville set, by the way. If it wasn't for the cool slip box with the house on it, I probably wouldn't even own it. But they could combine their forces. You could have Screen Factory and you could have Vinegar Syndrome together, and they could have 4Ks of all these movies. They could just make a gigantic house.
And you'd still be missing a film.
You hit a button, and it plays some kind of scary music or something.
Yep. That's the funniest part to me is, I don't know, I haven't looked into it, but I've heard people say that basically they looked at that movie and were like, "Can we do this?" And I'm like, I don't believe that. Like their whole thing was it was the Cursed Objects trilogy, or it's the Cursed Objects series because it was the ones by that guy, and like I don't know if it's true or not, but it feels like they were like, "Hey, can we do this one?" No. Well, we've got Cursed Objects anyway. Fuck it.
That's what I kind of said. It's like they because Dance Commander said, well, Vinegar Syndrome said 5 doesn't have anything to do with the house, so it's not really a part of the series.
Yeah.
But you know damn well if they could have gotten the movie, they would have released it.
Oh God, yeah.
As
God,
Amityville
yes.
5. So
I mean, they already done Zombie 5 this year. It's same thing that if Severin could have gotten hold of it, they would have made a slip for I mean, that's what they do.
Right.
So we have all the zombies now on Blu-ray. Besides Zombie 90, which is like shot on video, right?
Yeah. There was a point I remember where Zombie 6 was a thing, and I think it was originally a movie called Monster Hunter, but I think it never actually got a full release.
Yeah.
But I think it might have been Anthropophagus, honestly, being renamed. I don't remember actually.
I ought to make a movie just called like Zombie 9 or something, and just see what happens.
We've already discussed this, Chuck. You need to do a lot of movies.
Yeah. Get the fucking work, Chuck.
I'll do like a whole trilogy of just unofficial sequels.
Hey, Chuck, where's the audio?
Yeah.
What?
Okay, I was wrong. It's not Anthropophagus. Zombie 6 is absurd.
Oh. Okay.
No, so it's the sequel to Anthropophagus.
I'm going to work
so
with
we do actually have all the zombies on Blu-ray now. Yeah.
The episodes that are in audio should be up by the time this show goes out.
You heard it from Chuck.
19 episodes
you heard it from Chuck.
that I sent him.
Heard it from Chuck.
I'm trying to decide if you just want to dump it all to one page and say, here's it is forever, come find it. Or if we want to be like, here it is, each individual episode and the date that it was released. So that takes a lot more time. But it can be done.
You heard that from Chuck. So if you don't see it fairly after this episode comes out, you know who to tweet at.
Yes.
At Chuck Connery.
Yes. And it should be on at least partly all your favorite podcast places.
I hope so.
So you can relive our glorious, slightly screwy audio because of my end on the first few episodes.
That's right. But when you make it past those, past the haunted elevator sounds.
Yes. They're appropriate. You know that.
Yeah.
It's a horror podcast. Why not?
Hey,
too bad those weren't happening during the platform.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
right.
yeah. Also would have been good to be saying that we were having haunted sounds during Amityville movies.
22 episodes, and only one time have I had any interruption while doing the show. Just one time.
I don't think that's true.
It depends on your definition of interruption, because if you're including interruptions such as, not showing
dogs
up
barking, people talking, playing music, Ethan behind you watching movies on the couch.
Yeah. Running and getting pizza right before show.
All right. Thanks for watching. Next week we'll be back at Amityville 2D. And like, share, subscribe. I don't know what I was going to say. So thanks for watching.
I believe you were going to say the power of cast compels you.
I wasn't, but thank you. Stop playing on your phone, Chuck.
Well, it's important. I'm reading wrestling things.
See, this is why my phone I have to go that far down and that far up to actually get it to come up on screen.